Yes, you read the title right. The Star Wars Anthology films are worse than ISIS. Now I understand there's a vast overabundance of gay kids complaining about Star Wars on the internet right now.
Now the third reason I am super mad is one, there was not one lightsaber battle in that whole movie.
And just how Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are raping it like the decaying carcass of a dead dog. But I don't completely agree with those people, and in order to prove so and weed them out, I'll just quickly share my opinions on the other two Star Wars films Disney has produced. I love Star Wars The Force Awakens. The characters were all really strong and the tone of the movie was perfect. It had all the exact emotional beats I deem necessary for a great Star Wars movie. No, I'm not fucking retarded, I can see the clear parallels to A New Hope, and I think that's more than okay. After the prequels, I think the best option is to have a return to form in order to re-establish the franchise as what it is. The only part I feel they went too far with this is the fact that they had to blow up the 10th fucking Death Star in a row. That was more stupid than my cat, and I think she has Down syndrome. But I digress. I think for the first chapter of a new series of Star Wars movies, basic and familiar is a fine decision. Now where you go from there is where things should get mixed up a bit, which leads us to The Last Jedi. I liked it. Hey, calm down, I'm trying to explain! I know very well how flawed the movie is and just how many issues everyone has with it, and just won't seem to shut the fuck up about for the past year and probably for decades to come. My dad can't go a minute without talking shit about it or else he'll have an aneurysm. But bottom line, I really enjoyed the storyline that followed Rey, Luke, and Kylo Ren. There's some powerful stuff in there, and I didn't even mind how they killed off Luke. Are there better ways they could have done it? Yes. But I'm still fine with what we got. My issue with The Last Jedi is more with the other storylines in the movie. They're fucking boring and poorly thought out. But overall, I don't mind The Last Jedi, and I'm anxious to see where JJ takes it from there. But really the worst problem with these new Star Wars movies is that it's very clear that they're just making things up as they go along. There was no plan from the beginning of how the movies were gonna go. Kathleen Kennedy just seems to let each director do whatever the fuck they want to this beloved franchise. Oh, wait a minute. Now, when Disney proposed the idea of making Star Wars anthology films, a series of side movies that didn't follow the main characters we know and love and instead ventured out into other realms of the Star Wars universe, an attempt at building a cinematic universe on the creative and hopefully financial skill of Marvel, I was on board. There are thousands of books worth of expanded lore and mythos that sound really interesting, and because I don't know how to read, the only way I could really enjoy them is if they made them into movies. In all seriousness, the idea of branching out and doing some extensive world building sounds pretty awesome to me. So what will the first of these Star Wars anthology films be? Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The tale of how a group of rebels stole the plans for the Death Star, leading right into Episode 4. That sounds okay, I guess. You know what? I'm sure it'll be fun to learn of the rebels who went about this dangerous mission. They have to all be interesting characters with compelling stories, right? Right? These people all fucking suck. We're given little to no development for any of these main characters. The fucked up part is, the more important the character, the less development there is. The only characters that have somewhat of an arc are the blind guy and his meaty lover. I wouldn't really call them great characters, but at least there's something there. The only other entertaining character is Alan Tudykbot, which has about the layers and complexity of Alan Tudykbot. Who the fuck is this piece of shit? I guess Krennic was cool. At least they didn't make Ben Mendelsohn do an American accent.
Do I look like I'm running Wayne Enterprises right now? You're hit on the stock exchange. It didn't work, my friend.
Our two main leads, the characters that need to work the most, have zero personality and depth whatsoever. They give us virtually no reason to care about them. Not to say they didn't try, at the last minute when they were scrambling for reshoot. Guess Jyn Erso's this girl who was taken away from her home as a child and is now a rebel or something. And then her dad dies and we're supposed to feel sad for her. And I guess Cassian Andor is the guy who... I forgot. The film does construct sequences with these characters that try so desperately hard to get us to care. They have Jin save this random child at some point for no reason. They have Jin's dad die at some point for no reason. They have Cassian, I don't know, I forgot. I honestly didn't rewatch this movie in preparation for this video. I was trying to, but my cat wouldn't fucking let me. Fucking fat little bitch. There are emotionally constructed sequences in the movie, but they mean absolutely nothing. They forgot arguably the most important element of creating good characters: nuance. There aren't any real characteristics of both our leads. They're boring cardboard cutouts that experience no growth over the course of the film, and then they die. Secondly, what exactly is the Star Wars story here? People get together and do a thing and then they die. I'm not gonna act like Star Wars has ever had the most exceptional storytelling, as I really only enjoy those original films because they're entertaining fantasy movies with heart and good characters. Stories have always been simplistic, and that's okay. So maybe if Rogue One had decent characters that I could follow along the way during this poorly paced half story of boring, then it may have overall worked. And it goes without saying that there are great elements to the movie. I really like the bleak look of the film, and the action scenes are some of the best filmed in the entire saga. I really love the grittiness of the handheld camera war scene. It's different from any other Star Wars film, and on the aesthetic aspect of the movie alone, it creates cool moments to look at. But this is what I feel a lot of Star Wars fans that worship this movie can't seem to wrap their head around. Just because you see cool stuff in the movie that gives you an erection that you try to hide from your mother as you watch it with her doesn't make it a good movie. If you're entertained by Rogue One, that's great. But I can't deny that both times I watched the damn thing, I was bored out of my mind. Maybe you all lost your minds over it because the movie ends on a high note. I guess. I would have given a whole lot more of a damn if I cared about any of these characters. Oh well. At least they didn't dig up any old Star Wars actors to be a part of this. Oh my god! And since this video is already enough of a Plinkett ripoff, I might as well go ahead and say, what's wrong with your Facebook page, Andy?
We've been dating for almost 6 months and you still haven't set your relationship status to in a relationship. What are you trying to say? Do you hate me? Are you cheating on me? I'm probably being caught. Does that record?
Okay, so Disney's first attempt at making a Star Wars anthology film was quite the disaster if you ask me. But let's be optimistic from here. Maybe after this misfire, they'll decide to branch out and actually tell an interesting Star Wars story full of new worlds, new characters, and new themes. So what do they decide to make next? Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, I don't have all that much to say about the Han Solo movie, and this may partially have to do with the fact that I never finished watching it. Hey, it's my first YouTube video, give me a break! I saw enough of it, and watched enough spoiler-filled YouTube videos to know where it was going. But more importantly, for it to just make my point about how they utterly fucked up these Star Wars anthology films abundantly clear, which honestly, all my arguments against them were made abundantly clear just when this movie was announced. A tad more on that in a minute. I made it a little over halfway, and it's not like I didn't have any opportunities to finish watching it. I had the Blu-ray and could have sat down and completed Solo on countless occasions, but I didn't give a fuck, especially when I can just watch Sword Art Online for the millionth time. But from what I saw of it, it fell into a lot of the same traps that Rogue One did. The characters are boring as fuck, and I didn't care about any of them. There's a bit more nuance with them than there were with Rogue One's characters. They still fall into the basic archetypes of quirky, unfunny space people. And while we're on that, Han Solo himself reminded me nothing of Han Solo. Nothing against Alden Ehrenreich, I'm sure he's a fine actor, but the energy of Harrison Ford's character just wasn't there for me. I know that a lot of people disagree with me on that, so I'll just leave it up to subjectivity, which all of this should be left up to. But above all else, he's just a boring spaceman. They introduced a group of characters near the beginning of the film that they easily could have decided to flesh out and get us to like, but then they kill them all off in the next scene. Okay. Watching this movie, I was bored to tears and caught myself only watching it because I was excited to see Donald Glover as Lando. And because I'm a fan of Childish Gambino, I was really looking forward to his take on the character. And he was a boring spaceman, but this time black. At least I actually saw him as the character he was playing though, which is better than what I can say for the fucking titular character. This is where I stopped watching the movie and went into my room to cut myself. I guess Darth Maul shows up or something. I don't care. I'm not even gonna comment on the terrible references to earlier films, trying to create a perfect explanation for every character trait of Han Solo. I think people have already torn that to shreds enough.
What's your name, son?
Han.
What?
I'm alone.
I can say this for Solo over Rogue One. It actually seemed to be telling a story. Not a good story, mind you, but a story nonetheless. So the point I'm trying to make here is that I think Disney had a potentially good idea. Maybe for not the most creatively noble of reasons, but if executed properly, we could have gotten some awesome Star Wars one-off films unlike anything we've seen before. But they fucked it up, and instead made movies that literally no one gave a fuck about. And the data shows. While Rogue One did pretty well, Solo was a flop. No one cared to go see it. I certainly didn't. But if I'm being honest, in the end I really don't care too much. I do consider myself a fan of Star Wars, but it's not the bread and butter of my existence or anything. When a bad Star Wars movie comes out, yeah, I'm irritated, but then I go on with my life. I don't stay awake for months, fueled by the anger brought upon me by The Last Jedi. Dad. It's not as big of an influence on my life as, say, Cowboy Bebop or Batman or something. However, I will say this. Lately, I've been ashamed to call myself a Star Wars fan, because you all seem to turn into the most over-exaggerated versions of angry man-children an abstract cartoonist could ever come up with. And quite frankly, it's disgusting. You're disgusting.
Oh, you good, bro?
Watch these movies and think whatever you want about them. Just please don't kill each other over it. Instead, take the precious time out of your life to make a 15-minute YouTube video about it.
Hey guys, this is MathBoy 2003, and I'm here to tell you that I saw the new Star Wars movie a few days ago, and it was good. It was good, but I think the last one from 2015 was pretty good. It was better than this one. But I was surprised that it grossed 45 million or billion dollars during its first week. I mean, damn, that's a pretty good movie to make a lot of money.